Hey, Don and Susie here again with the Friday Five. Today we're going to talk about how to evaluate an offer. Seems simple, seems like it's all about the price, doesn't it? But that's just one piece of the puzzle. There's a lot more to an offer than just the price.
If you have a cash offer and it's slightly lower, in the market we're in right now, that might actually be the stronger offer.
The point is, if an offer comes in with a loan attached to it, it's a little bit weaker.
If you receive a cash offer right now, that might be the stronger one, even though it's lower, because the lending right now is a little bit sketchy. A lot of people are shifting businesses. They're moving from one lender to another, and they're also losing their jobs. So to take an offer that might be slightly higher but has a loan attached to it may cause some delays, may cause some problems.
We're talking about risk here, and usually a cash offer just has a little less risk.
Number 2 on the offer is earnest money. So you're looking to see what your buyer is offering you for earnest money. So if somebody offers you $2,000 on a $500,000 house or $5,000 on a $500,000 house, which one's better?
The amount of that earnest money deposit really is a gauge of the buyer's commitment. It's their skin in the game. And sometimes if the deposit is a little bit too low, it means they're not that committed to the sale. I would say probably 1% of the purchase price is
1%
reasonable.
is a good indicator of where they are. If they go over the 1% mark, it usually means they're pretty into the deal and they love the house.
Closing date. Now this is really negotiable on both sides because everybody has different needs when it comes to timing. This could have a huge factor in your offer, and this is where we really need to talk to the other side's agent.
We're working on a transaction right now where the seller, our client, is selling their home here and moving out of state to another house. They made an offer on the other house, but we made sure that the two closing dates tied together so there wasn't going to be any issue for you. So that's what you're looking for, is not only does the closing date sound good, but it matches what your future plans are.
We get a lot of questions about closing dates in general because some, especially first-time home buyers, just don't have any idea how long this takes. Usually 30 days as a rule of thumb is how long it takes to get all the processing done for a real estate transaction. As we get closer to the end of this year, I would allow 45 days for a typical closing.
Also, through our experience, we know which lenders are faster and which ones are slower. So if we see a particular lender with an over-promising closing date, we're probably going to call them and say, can you really do it? Number 4 is inclusions. What is the buyer asking you to give up? Are they asking for all the appliances and you were going to take the refrigerator with you? You're looking at the total cost of the offer, not just the purchase price.
There can be a lot of things besides appliances, like a hot tub.
Just recently had that happen.
Yeah. Sometimes sellers want to keep certain light fixtures or certain shrubs and trees in their garden they expect to dig up and take with them. All these little things need to be negotiated, and we go through this thoroughly in the transactions we represent. And number 5, conditions, also known as contingencies. Most offers have contingencies. These allow the buyer to exit the transaction if the contingencies are not met. The big ones, the normal ones, are a financing contingency. This says that the transaction won't proceed if the buyer doesn't succeed with their loan. There is an inspection contingency. The buyer has to approve an inspection before the sale can proceed.
There's also septic, if you're on septic. There's also well, and then every once in a while you'll see a title contingency.
Every time there's a new contingency in the offer, it increases the complication. The big one is the home sale contingency. This occurs when the buyer has to sell their own house first before they can close on the seller's house.
It might even involve a few. Don and I have been involved in a daisy chain of 5 houses, all being conditioned on the sale of the next one closing. So you want to make sure that you've really got that all lined up and everybody knows. But it does put a little fear, because if one of them breaks down, the whole daisy chain breaks. So that's why this contingency is such an important one to look at and evaluate. It's important also to look at the house being sold. What is the likelihood that house is going to be sold, and at the price that it's going to be sold? So that's why the home contingency is such a critical contingency for us to look at.
There's a lot of negotiation that goes into this, and it all comes down to risk levels. Everything we just talked about is an extra layer of risk. So when you're writing an offer, just look at it from the other side's point of view. How much risk are you asking them to take? What's reasonable? For these and other tips, we've got a whole series of them. Subscribe to the YouTube channel right now.